and welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book, Now What? I'm your host, Wendy Jo Cerna, and we are jumping into the new year with the second half of Season 2. I'm convinced you're going to find exactly what you need to help you obey the call of God on your life to create the book He has given you to create. Hey, if the author and finisher of all things told you to write a book, He believes that you can. And so do I. So come on, let's write. Hello, authors. Welcome back to So God Told You to Write a Book. Now what? Today we're on episode 18 of Season 2, and it's an honor to interview today from clear across the country, about as far apart as we can get, one side to the other, Eva Marie Everson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a joy. It's a joy to have. We've not met in person before, so this is all fresh and new today. Whatever we find out, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
know
you
each
were
other
born
by reputation through emails, etc.
right.
But
yeah,
we had not met in person. We have to fix that.
We do. I am. That's on my list. But you're currently living in Florida, correct?
I am currently living in Florida. Yes.
But
yes.
Born in Georgia?
Born in Georgia, born and reared in Georgia. I grew up near the Savannah, Georgia area, so what we call the Low Country, because it's so coastal, it's so low to the ground, so to speak. No elevation there. And then when I was, I think 19 years old, I moved to Albany, Georgia, which true Albanians pronounce Albany.
Okay.
Just like that, Albany. Lived there for 16 years, met my husband there, lived there for 16 years, I think it was. And then we have 3 children, and then we moved down here to Florida. My husband's job brought us here.
Okay. What part of Florida are you in?
We're in the Orlando area. We're north of Orlando, and one of the little communities that, it all grew together.
Yeah.
After Disney came here. So
you
don't know when you've left one town and gone into another, truly.
Yeah. I grew up in northern Minnesota. And so the South was always a bit of a mystery to me. But I have cousins who live in Florida, down more closer towards Miami. And I think it was, I don't know what year Disney opened. It was like 1972 or something.
No. It was in the 60s.
I don't know. All I know is we were driving to Florida for Christmas vacation because my dad worked in the school industry, so we had a couple of weeks off. So we were driving all the way down from Minnesota, and we stopped in Georgia. And in Georgia, it was about, 65 degrees or something. So, but for us, coming from 20 below,
nice and warm.
we had our shorts on, and T-shirts, and we went into this like a Denny's or something, and we're sitting down and eating, and there was this father and daughter sitting behind us, and she was just chattering away, and he's like, "Honey, slow down. And she said, "I just can't, Daddy. My God, Daddy, I'm freezing." And freezing. This is so warm, sister.
I know.
That was my introduction to the South. I was like 11.
Yes, that sounds about like it. And it's funny that you said that about the South and your cousins in Florida. And a lot of people said to me, after we moved here, well, at least you're still in the South. And I'm like, no, honey, you got to go north to get south of here.
Right. It's a different world in Florida. Yeah. That's what I discovered. But on the way there, you drive through the South. Yeah. So you have written a lot of books, but you have a new one. I want to get this out at the start. You have a new one coming out in a couple of weeks, like in the middle of May?
May 12th. Yes.
May 12th. And the name of it is Miss Beth Bettencourt. Miss Beth Bettencourt. Yeah, you got to say it with a little bit of a twang.
Got to say it like you're a Southerner.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I've read it, and it's charming. It's full of Southern charm. Yeah. Yeah, the characters are really lovely. But, it's set late 50s, early 60s.
1962.
1962 in the South, in Georgia, by the way.
In Georgia.
What's the name of the town? Bynum? No.
Bynum. It's actually my hometown of Sylvania, Georgia. I did not grow up in Bynum. I grew up in Sylvania, but I knew I did not want to name the town Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
because, somebody might say, "Oh, is that me that you're writing about?" And no, it's not.
Right. Yeah.
But the layout of the town, the feel of the town, it was just a wonderful place to grow up,
Yeah.
charming, and everybody knew everybody.
Yep.
Everybody's mama was your mama, and your
Yep.
mama was everybody's mama, and
Yep.
that kind of thing. And didn't have to lock our doors or close our windows at night. Everything was just
Yeah.
really safe there. Very Mayberry-esque.
Mm.
But my oldest daughter's last name or married name is Bynum.
Oh,
And when I was trying to decide what to name this little small town, and
yeah.
actually, this is the third book that uses Bynum.
Oh, okay.
But back in with the first book, when I was trying to make a decision as to, what can I call this name?
Yeah.
Uh, I think it was, I think Ashley called me, if I remember correctly, and I just thought Bynum.
Huh.
And I loved it. It just kind of has a small town
Yep.
feel, like a Mr. Bynum came into town with his horse and buggy and settled there, in the 1800s kind of thing.
There you go. And it's still there today.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a lovely read. I
thank
enjoyed
you.
it. Thanks for sending me an advance copy. But
Absolutely.
you have a lot more on your resume than, I don't want to say just writing, because just writing is a lot.
It is a
You do a
lot.
lot of things. You wear a lot of hats, let's put it that way. You're a director of which conference? The Florida
Florida
Christian
Christian
Writers.
Writers Conference. Yes.
Right. But we connected through Blue Ridge Mountains Christian Writers, where
Mm-hmm.
you are the
I'm the
contest
contest
director.
director for the Selah Awards, which is an international industry-wide award, and then the Foundation Awards, which is for the conferees at the Blue Ridge Conference. So
Okay.
I take care of that, which is about a 6-month commitment every
Yeah.
year. And then I lead the spiritual track at the conference
Oh,
center as well during the conference. Yes.
okay. All right. So there's a few of your hats. You
Yeah. Yeah.
also are a writing coach for new authors.
Yes, I'm not doing that as much as I
Okay.
was for a while there because I've gotten so busy. I'm the CEO of Word Weavers International, which
Yeah.
again, it's an international group, of writers. Uh, we focus on community critique and conferences,
Okay.
about 1,200 members strong all across the world. And
Wow.
honestly, that just takes up a lot of my
Yeah.
time every
That's a
day.
lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot. 1,200
Yes.
members
Yes.
across the world. That's a beautiful
Mhm.
thing. I love that.
Oh,
I was reading
I
about it
look
some.
back. Yeah, I look
Yeah.
back on how God placed me here. I was one of the original 5 members. Started at out of our church, Northland, here in the Orlando area, and just never ever thought that it would be something that was so needed. This
Yeah.
need for writers, for
Yep.
Christian writers, to be able to sit down together and look at each other's work and build each other up, not like pat you on the back and just say, "Oh, it's the best thing I ever
Yeah.
read in my whole life,"
Right, right, right.
but to say, "Here's your strengths and here's where it gets weak, and
Hmm.
here's how we can balance that out to make it better." Because every writer worth their grain of, of
Yeah.
salt, or their grain of salt, knows that books are not written, they're edited.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
Yes.
a good way of putting it.
Hmm.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about today, but let's go back. Take me back to Eva Marie Everson prior to any book ever being written.
Mm. Okay.
Did you
Well,
know you wanted to be a writer? Were you
always
always?
knew I wanted to be a writer, but sadly, in the 7th grade, my teacher told me I could never do that.
Oh,
And I'm not sure why she said it, other than she really didn't like me that much.
okay.
So,
There you go.
you know, yeah, I mean, she was just one of those teachers that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to please her.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
maybe, yeah, and I would say maybe she was that way with everybody, but I know that's not true. She seemed to just love the boys in the class.
Mm.
So, I don't know. I think we're all a little bit like, um, yeah, we just tend to like, oh, I like girls more than boys,
Sure.
especially,
Yeah.
we in the school years.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that was it. Maybe I reminded her of someone from her
Who
childhood
knows?
she just didn't
Yeah.
like. I don't know. But
Yeah.
she did not like me. And so the question was, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what are
Yeah.
you doing right now toward that end?
Okay.
Because at 12, it was so important
Yeah.
that we know the answer. And I said, I want to be a writer. And I think what I said was, I want to be a novelist. And she
Ah.
said, well, you could never do that. And I thought that what she was saying was, I couldn't do it because, in my mind, to be a novelist, you had to live in New York City. And
Oh.
maybe she was saying, like, I could never leave this little Mayberry town. But I think she just didn't think I had it in me. And I know one time we had to write a poem, and I wrote the
Hmm.
poem. And then my father had to come up to the school because she said I had plagiarized. And my
Oh.
father had been sitting with me. My father was a wonderful writer and
Hmm.
storyteller, but he had actually sat with me while I was working on it. So he knew, and he was not a very happy camper that I had been accused of this. But um, the funny part about this is I had another teacher who told me I could be anything I wanted to be.
Hmm.
And it's like Julia Roberts said in Pretty Woman, it's always easier to believe the bad stuff.
Isn't that
So
interesting?
I became a nurse,
Hmm.
and it truly was not my calling in life, but I did the best I could.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do my best. And then married, had children, etc. And then in 1992, I contracted an illness and I just had to stop working. So during this 5 years of
Wow.
dealing with the initial stages of my illness, I read a lot of
Hmm.
books
Yeah.
because I've always been the kind of person who, if you give me a book, I'll forget about everything else.
Hmm.
I'll forget about what's going on in the world.
Right.
Pain, I'll forget that I'm in pain. Just
Yeah.
anything. If I have a toothache, I'll forget about the toothache, whatever. And at the end of every book, I would think, I could have written that. I
Hmm.
could have written that. Oh, I could. But I began to realize it was a method to the madness. I
Yeah.
began to study books and study TV shows and movies. And I realized that it was almost formulaic,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I went and got this book called Writing the Blockbuster Novel by Albert Zuckerman.
Hmm.
Had this little novel idea. I had started writing for a children's ministry here in the Orlando area, just started writing my novel.
Hmm.
And the next thing I knew, I was walking into the world of Christian publishing and the doors were swinging open. And I still don't understand why it really kind of came easily to me, where I
Hmm.
watched some people just struggle. And
Yeah.
I feel that they're better writers than I am. But then again, I look back and I also realize that God allowed such progression so that I could turn around and help others, because that
Yeah.
truly is what I enjoy doing the most.
Hmm. Interesting. So what was that first novel?
It's titled Shadow of Dreams, and they ended up Barber Publishing out of Ohio, out of Yerkesville, I think it is, Ohio. One of the finest publishing houses in the Christian publishing world. They ended up buying the sequel and then the sequel to that. So
Wow.
I think I did 5 or 6 books with Barber
Huh.
before I ended up doing a lot of books with Baker Revell
Okay.
and Thomas Nelson and Tyndale, etc. So
Yeah.
I've really had the joys of working with a lot of the houses, David C. Cook, um, Honor Books, which no longer exist, I don't
Yeah.
think, but just some great publishing houses over the years, because it's almost been 30 years now.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. So you got, well, I suppose in 19 mid 90s there wasn't much option to do indie publishing.
No, there was no. Yeah, we didn't call, I mean, it wasn't even called indie publishing. You could self-publish.
Okay.
And but I didn't know anything about, I really didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Um they had what they called vanity houses. Remember
Okay.
that? Vanity houses, which is a terrible thing because
Yeah.
it's almost like I'm too vain to,
Right.
publish
That's right.
the
Whoa.
old-fashioned way.
Right.
But that's what it was called.
Huh.
And then, indie publishing, I feel like has been in the last maybe 5 to 10 years.
Right.
And for the most part, those are people who have already established themselves within the industry.
Hmm.
And They already, they have a platform, they have an
Yeah.
audience, etc.
Right.
But you can still, quote, self-publish because of KDP,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got that. The danger in that is if you're not careful, a lot of people will think, well, my best friend read it and made some suggestions,
Right.
or my seventh grade English teacher, or my
Right.
mother, or, somebody I know who just loves to read. And so now it's edited, and they don't understand that there is such a process
Yeah.
to the editing of a book. There
Yeah.
is, a content edit and a developmental editor, and there are line editors, and there are proofers, and there's just all, it goes into typeset, and then it has to be edited again because of typesetting. And you don't understand a lot of, they just think you just,
Yeah.
have somebody go through it one time and that's it. No, no, no. By the time we get to the actual published book, we're pretty much sick of it.
That makes exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
We've read it so many
Right.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny because I just when did I put out my last book? Just a few months ago, and I was
Mhm.
talking to a young man at our church who's a worship leader, and we were just
Mhm.
talking artsy creative stuff.
Yeah.
He writes a lot of music. He's a brilliant guy. And he
Mm.
said, "Oh, your book's coming out. Tell me, do you still love it?" And I was like, now's not a good time to ask me that. It's
Yes,
just
yes.
sort of, I'm
Just
just
a couple
want
of
to
days.
get it out there
I
and just
know. And,
get it for a
and
while.
also, Wendy, because we, like this book, I just got the author copies from Kriegel. Miss
Okay.
Beth Bettencourt was published by Kriegel. Just got the author copies a couple of days ago. I am already two novels out from that
Ah, mm,
because the next novel has been contracted. We're in the editorial process of it, and I'm writing the third novel in the series. So I actually had to flip through it. You got to remember, like
wait a
I'm doing
minute.
all these podcasts and interviews, and I'm not even sure I remember what
Yeah,
happened in the book.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a
yeah.
process. I
It
didn't,
is. It
I did.
really is. And again, I don't think people realize that. And I think that if you're not careful, things like KDP can hurt us as an industry because it is an art form and it's hard work. And don't you dare tell me that all I had to do was sit down with AI and it wrote the book for me because
Oh,
I may just gouge your eyeballs out.
right. Right. I know. Such a danger to that. It's a
Yeah,
whole new
yeah.
world there.
Oh, I know
Wow.
how hard it is. It's
Yeah.
we somebody asked me this weekend. I was at a writers conference. Jerry Jenkins had the Pinnacle Christian Writers
Oh,
Conference in
okay.
Colorado, and I was there, working for Jerry and working with Jerry. And the question was something along the lines of, is it really truly a birthing process? Is the progression of writing a book, is it painful?
Mhm.
And I said, well, we call it, we gave birth, it's our book baby. We
Yeah.
gave birth to
Yeah.
our book baby, and I have given birth to a human being. And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you,
Yep.
both are painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We had a gal come to our Northwest Christian Writers group a few months ago, and she is like a PhD or something in AI and ethics, Christian ethics and AI. Like, okay, that very interesting. But the
How do
thing,
those
my
two things
biggest
fit?
takeaway from the whole thing was that she said, AI in and of itself is not evil. It's
Mhm.
not evil. The evil in AI is that it's easy.
Yeah. There you go.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
we start to lose like the muscle mass, whatever we've gained in
Hmm.
having to learn how to write and having to learn what the process is and choosing words and choosing phrases and all that muscle stuff goes away because it's just so easy. And so we don't really know what the long-term effects of all that is going to be. But that
Well,
stuck with me.
my whole life, I've had story in my, just running around in my
Yeah.
head
Yeah.
and characters. And I thought everybody was like that.
Right.
I thought everybody could, see people that weren't there and hear
Right.
voices
Right.
that weren't there. I just thought that was normal, but I found
Yeah.
out quickly that it wasn't. Um, and so I was putting together some titles for
Mm,
someone for a book,
yeah.
like, for the chapter titles, not the
Yeah.
book title, but the chapter titles. Based on this is what I would call it. Based on that, that's what I would call it. And she said, "Did you run that through AI?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Well, how'd you come up with these? They're so good." And I said, "I'm creative. I'm a
Yeah.
creative person. Please don't tell me we're going to get to this point." But I fear that we are.
Yeah.
We are going to get to we already know
Yeah.
that books are now being run through these AI indicators,
Mm-hmm.
and they're telling us, don't use M dashes, don't use ellipses, don't use this because that makes it sound like it's AI. Well, the problem for me is that in Southernisms,
Yeah.
we tend to trail and then go in, like we'll trail off and then go into another topic, so to speak, and then trail off and circle back to the first topic.
Yeah.
So a lot of my characters, their dialogue is ellipses, or their inner dialogue, which is deep, point
Right.
of view,
Yeah.
is has the ellipses. And now you're telling me that if I want my characters to sound realistic, it may hurt me. So
Ha.
do you remember the song? It was like probably it was 1969. Actually, it was called "In the Year 2525." Do you remember
Mm-mm.
that song?
No.
Go look that up. It's
Okay.
interesting because it talks about how one day machines are going to take over and we won't need to think, we
Hmm.
won't need to love, we won't need to see. Everything is being done for us.
Yeah.
And I fear we have arrived at the year 2525. Mm,
Well, we have. It's like
yeah.
2026 the last I
Yeah, I
checked.
know.
Months ago.
In the
Yeah,
year 2026.
right. It's an interesting world we live in. It's I do I mean, I've been a voracious reader my whole life,
Mm,
and I appreciate all of the publishing houses that have worked in that industry and allowed us
mhm,
to bring excellence through all of the writing. And I'm also pretty tickled about the opportunities that are available to us. I mean, even the music industry, the film industry, the book industry, it's like all of the gatekeepers, they're not
mhm,
gone, but they're
mhm.
not essential anymore
Right. Yeah.
in order to
Yeah.
produce something. But if you want to produce something excellent, you
Yeah.
still have to go through
You do.
you still have to go through the process of the nitpicking of every little moment and every little word and every little ellipse
Yes. Yes.
to
You know what
make
I'm
things
doing right
excellent.
now, Wendy? I am going through my next book.
Yeah.
I overused the word that.
Oh,
So, yes,
yes.
that.
Uh-huh.
It's 100,000 words and I've used it 1,100 times.
Oh,
And
hello. Yeah.
so I have been going through the book because
Yep.
the first reader said, "Oh, overuse of the word that."
Hmm.
And I've been doing this now for a couple of hours. I have gotten
Yeah.
it down by 200 that's.
There you go.
Yeah, but some of it's in dialogue, and you just
Yeah.
can't remove it, so
Yeah.
it's okay. But it's an unnecessary filler word,
Yeah.
and so we have to. That's part of it.
Yeah.
When we write, we just write it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when we edit, we have to start looking for the filler words like that and had and then and than and
Yeah.
all of those
Yep.
wonderful. And then also, most writers have what we call our crutch words.
Hmm.
So I learned a long time ago when I wrote the book, the one I think it was the One True Love of Alice Ann for Tyndale, that my crutch word is sweet. Everything was
Hmm.
sweet. She looked
Hmm.
sweet. She acted sweet. The milk was sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
So we
funny.
have to
You
look for
don't,
those words.
you
Yeah.
really do. You
Yeah.
really do. But
Yeah.
you don't, but I do appreciate, the first draft and all that. I call it creative regurgitation, which maybe
Yes.
isn't all that lovely,
Yes.
but it's this, I have this thing in my belly that has to get up and out. And when
Right.
it comes out, it's pretty
Hmm.
messy, actually.
Yes. Yes.
But then the real work begins of going
Yes.
back and forming into
Yeah,
something beautiful.
even like with like I hear the dialogue in my
Yeah,
head. I hear the conversations that they're going to have. If I am going to sit down and start thinking about action beats and about, like a sound that came from
right.
outside or a scent or any of those things or what the character might see or feel, it's going to bog me down. So I just type out that
Yeah,
dialogue.
Yep.
he said this and she said that and he
Yeah.
said and she said, and you don't use the he said, she said, but
Right. You just get it
just
right.
so once I get the conversation out of my head,
Yeah.
now I can go back and reread it and kind of visualize it. I can hear what's going on around me. I can
Yeah.
smell the scents. I can hear and I can see. And we can add little things like, he picked at an imaginary piece of lint on his
Right.
slacks,
Right.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, but but sometimes you just got to get the words
Yep.
out.
Yeah. 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 I've done in different critique groups. It's like some
Mhm.
people, they have a lot of words come out and you got to reel them in, but that's easier to deal with than those who don't even get, you can't work with when there's no words out at all because they
No,
have
you
like
have to have the
perfectionism
words.
going on,
Yeah.
perfectionism going on pre-editing. Like you gotta just
Right.
get them out and
Yes.
then
And I find that for young writers, and we had this question a lot this past weekend at Pinnacle. They think you have to have all the words and all the emotions and all the senses put in your head and all formulated before you can sit down and start. So we kept
yeah.
getting these questions. We were talking about this backstage. It's like, well, how do you just start?
Hmm.
Or you just sit down and write. Well, what if I'm not sure how I want the book to start? Listen, very rarely has the
Yeah.
first line been the first line I wrote.
Right.
So the first line of the book is rarely the first line I write. Once you get into the feel, then you go
Mm.
back
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, I think I know how I want this to start.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you've written a lot of novels, a
Mm-hmm.
number of series, but you've also
Mm-hmm.
written some nonfiction
I
books.
have.
How
Yeah.
how did those come about, the nonfiction books?
Um, well, a couple of them were, I was asked to
Okay.
do them, or like asked to be the general editor, which
Yeah.
means you get the authorship of it. Or something happened in a spiritual vein. So, for example, I was asked by the Ministry of Tourism in Israel because I wrote for crosswalk.com, and they asked me if I would come to Israel on their dime. This was in 2002, and
Yeah.
then come back and write for Crosswalk. And I
Huh.
did.
Yeah.
I wrote 10 articles for Crosswalk just on that, one trip.
Yeah.
But the woman who was our interpreter and our guide, her name's
Mhm.
Miriam Feinberg Vamosh. She and I had such a camaraderie and a relationship. And I laughingly said, if I remember correctly, Miriam remembers this better than I do. We were at the Southern Steps in Jerusalem, and I said, Miriam, you and I should write a book.
Hmm.
Because everywhere we went, I had this overwhelming sense as I was journaling of how this was making me feel spiritually,
Yeah.
not just the history, not
Right.
just the facts and that kind
Yeah.
of thing, but how this was just stirring me.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, 5 years later, I had been teaching this particular series, I guess you could say, at women's conferences, and I had been asked if I would write the book that would go along with what I was teaching at women's conferences. It was called Arise, My Soul Arise. And Thomas Nelson contracted it, but one editor left and another one came in,
Okay.
and she called me and said, I don't really know your work. Would you give me a couple of weeks to kind of get to know who you are? And then we
Yeah.
can start working together. And I said, sure.
Yeah.
She called 2 weeks later and she said, Eva Marie, would you drop Arise, My Soul Arise? I saw that you were in Israel as a journalist. I would really like it if you would put together a travel book, like a coffee table book. She described exactly what Miriam and I
Hmm.
had said we wanted to do. And I'm sitting there going, I can't believe this. I mean, they're
Hmm.
talking four color photography and slick
Yeah.
pages and hardback and a dust jacket. And I can't believe
Wow.
this. And so I very quietly said I would be more than happy to switch that out if I can write it with my good friend Miriam
Hmm.
Feinberg Vamosh, because
Hmm.
we had become so close.
Yeah.
And they said, sure. And so we put that book out with Thomas Nelson in 2008, which was the 60th year anniversary of the
Right.
statehood of Israel. It
Right.
was so
Yeah.
perfect, such a beautiful book. We ended up, she and I, leading a tour together of journalists a couple of years later.
Yeah.
Um, and so it just, that's how that kind of came about.
Yeah. What's the name
Yeah.
of that one? I was looking at
Reflections of God's Holy Land, a
Reflections of
personal
God's Holy
journey
Land.
through Israel.
Yeah.
And it won a silver medallion. It won a
Yeah.
lot of different awards.
Uh,
So proud of that book. It's just so
yeah.
beautiful. And still periodically I'll go play. I was just in Ohio not too long ago, and someone came up to me, I was speaking, and someone came up to me and said, "That book is on my coffee table." Well, I'll tell
Oh,
you something that really excited me. Um, Kay Author wanted
yeah.
to know more about Word Weavers International.
Okay.
And if it was going to be a possibility that Word Weavers and her ministry could kind of come together, work together. So I flew up, I think she was in Chattanooga. I know she was in Tennessee. I flew up there and walked into her ministry offices, and there sat that book on when you walked in, it was a
Yeah.
lobby,
Wow.
coffee table, and a
Yeah.
seating arrangement. There sat my book.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
But she loved Israel.
Mm.
Loved it. She had an apartment there.
Oh, okay.
Just loved Israel so much. And she said to me, because I told her, I said, "Hey, that's my book." And she had actually heard me speaking at an
Mm.
event and had said to me, "You and I were cut from the same cloth." Yeah.
Mm.
What
Beautiful.
what an honor. Yeah.
What an honor. Isn't that great? But
Yeah.
that thing that was in your heart, but you and your friend,
Hmm.
how interesting that the Lord honored that in an unexpected time and way. And then it
Yes.
comes into this beautiful, beautiful
Yes.
book. I
Yeah.
love that.
Even
That's
though
a wonderful.
predominantly when somebody says, "What do you write?" I just say predominantly Southern fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Are all of your, wait a minute. No, I know there's one series that's set in Colorado. Is this true?
Yes, yes, and that is the Potluck Club series.
Yeah.
And but one of the characters, because Linda Evans Shepherd wrote three of the characters, and I wrote three of the characters
Oh,
because they're
okay.
the six women who go to church together and have potluck and prayer, but it turns into potluck and gossip.
Yeah.
It's oh my goodness, people still email us about these books
Huh.
still, and they
Yeah.
came out 21 years ago. The first
Interesting.
one did.
Yeah.
Still get emails because it's just so this is who women are, right?
Yeah.
But one of the characters, it was Goldie, and she was from a little town in Georgia.
Okay.
And every time I would write her, I would think, okay, this is my wheelhouse. This is where I'm
Yeah.
the most comfortable. And
Yeah.
that was when I made the shift to Southern fiction.
Ah, okay. What
Hmm.
was your first Southern fiction book? Do you remember?
Um, Things left unspoken.
Hmm.
Well, in a way, the Shadow series, because that was set in
Okay.
a small town in Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, it was set in New York City, so it went back and forth.
Yeah.
But in that series, the woman had disappeared 25 years ago, and now she had ended up in New York City, but now it's
Okay.
25 years later, and she just shows back up in her hometown.
Mm,
And
mm.
it was a mystery. It was a suspense, which I'm
Okay.
not the best at, but
Right.
that's where I started.
Yeah.
But then my first, yes, this is Southern fiction, was Things Left Unspoken, and then it was followed by This Fine Life.
Okay.
And then I had the Cedar Key series, which
Okay.
is Cedar Key, Florida, not in the Keys. This is up near the Panhandle.
Okay.
And that part of Florida is very southern,
Okay.
very, very southern,
Yeah, because you're
because it's
almost
still,
up to
yeah,
Alabama and
yeah,
yeah,
you start
yeah,
getting close to
right.
Alabama and Georgia. What
Yeah.
did somebody call it the other day? Floribama,
Florida.
Floribama. Yeah.
That's a good word for Floribama. I like that. So let me ask you this. So how do you decide what to write next?
It just comes to me.
Do you have a
I just,
pipeline of ideas or things that
yeah,
you
or somebody will say something and I'll think, that's
hmm,
interesting. Miss Beth Bettencourt
yeah.
was a Dear Abby that I read 40 years ago that
Uh,
I thought was the funniest Dear Abby I had ever read in my life about a woman who wakes up in the middle of the night and there's a man snoring in her house and she's a single woman. Like, how did this man get here?
Yeah.
And so, it turns out he had just gone to the wrong house. Um, but I just thought, that would make such a fun premise for a book. But that's all I had.
Yeah.
And then years later, I was in a writing group and we had exercises that we would do. And so we would throw things kind of into a hat, like, literally, we would write on a piece of paper, this is the item, and we'd throw them in the middle, and then somebody would open them up and we'd write them down. Okay, we're coming back next time, and you have to have 1,500 words, the opening with your genre, and it has to include these kind of weird things. That don't necessarily go together. But it was a piece of jewelry. I think it was a ring, or specifically, it was a ring, a sibling, a betrayal. And I don't remember the other things, but I started forming this story of two sisters, identical twins, and one stole not only the ring of the other, but also her bow.
Yeah.
And then I kept thinking back on this Dear Abby letter, and those two things kept jumping together. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to make those two things work. And then I found in my father's documents, his U.S. Air Force documents, found an interesting piece of paper, and I have the story. And I can't say what it is,
but
because I don't want to give it away.
Nope, got to read the book.
But it was I was like, that's it. I now know this. I have the whole story.
Yeah.
And Miss Beth was born. But the next story was actually kind of brought to me, the one that's coming out next year. Right now it's titled The Girl from Apple Tree Lane. A friend of mine contacted me and said, we have the love letters between my mother-in-law and father-in-law from World War II. And we'd like to give them to you. They wanted me to give them back. But maybe you can use them for inspiration. And then sometime later, and I just kind of kept that in my mind. Sometime later, I met this wonderful older couple, and I asked them, how did the two of you meet? Because, I'm always looking for story. I said, how did the two of you meet? And she said, well, Art was getting ready to ship out, and he had gone into a phone booth in the Atlanta, Georgia area and dropped his wallet. And then I came in after him and found the wallet. So she took it home, got the phone book, which we used to have back in those days.
Of course.
Looked up the address to the last name, found the number, called, and the father answered and said, "Oh my goodness, he's having a fit. He's getting ready to ship out. And he's got to have his wallet. All of his papers are in there." So he says, "I'll be there to pick it up." And so, as it turned out, Art was from the wrong side of the tracks. Right? She was from the right side of the tracks. Well, the father said, he said he was going to give her a thank you tip for, like a reward, until he pulled into their driveway and realized.
It's like, she don't need no reward.
Right. So Art wrote her back and said, thank you so much. And she thought, well, this will be my part in the war effort. I'll write him back. And the way she said it was, and now we have grandchildren. But Art went on to, and it was, her parents were adamant. She was not going to write this guy. But Art went on to be like the vice president of UPS.
Oh, my goodness.
Their home was in the tour of homes every year. It's such a beautiful, beautiful couple. And you know what? They died like 9 days of each other.
Oh, my goodness.
If one was gone, the other one had no reason to stick around, even with children and grandchildren.
Right.
No reason to stick around. And then I got to thinking, well, I remember writing those, dear Sergeant, whatever, from my friends that went off into the Air Force or whatever. And so I decided I would set it in 73, 74, because that was, kind of like my era in high school. And so I did, and I got to revisit the songs and the movies and the TV shows. But I read those letters, 4 years worth of letters.
Wow.
And copied some of the incidences that were happening in this. One thing that was really cute was this couple Frank and Betty, uh, she would put cute little puns at the end. And then also, there was one particular envelope that had a stamp that was just barely hanging on.
Yeah.
But in her letter, it said, "Do you ever look under the stamp?"
Oh.
And so apparently he had peeled back the stamp
Yeah.
and it said under the stamp, "Me neither."
Oh, how funny.
So I threw that in because it was just
Yeah.
cute. It was just cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah. So,
life is,
that's
yeah.
where ideas come from.
Yeah. And do
Mhm.
you have, because a lot of my listeners they're just starting out on this journey. They've not
Mhm.
finished a book or they're just thinking about starting it. What is your writing? Do you have a practice, a schedule, a
Mhm.
protocol? What does that look like for you when you are actively writing?
Well, here's one of the things I try to do, although it's
Yeah.
not always possible. You look at your contract and you say, okay, this is how long I have before I have to turn this in. How many days is that? How many words do they want? Then how many words per day do I have to write? We're going to
Okay.
leave off Sunday, or
Yeah.
Saturday or whatever your day of rest is. We're going to leave off that day. So you've got 6 days a week. And then we're going to factor in that somebody could get sick. You could
Right.
have to travel,
Right.
you've got other things. So I do try to factor all that in. And then I say, okay, I need to write at least 1,000 words a day. We're just going to throw it out because it's
Yeah.
easy. 1,000 words a day between now and this date. And I always back up 2 weeks before my contract is due, um, in order to make this happen. So if I have to write 1,000 words a day, I will try to write 1,500 words a day.
Okay. Yeah.
And some days you're going to go 3,000, 4,000 words
Yeah.
because it's just pouring out
Flowing.
of you.
Yeah.
And then the next day, you may only get 600 because it's a research day as well,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
So, you just, it is a discipline.
Yes.
It's like anything else. If you were, if you were any, yeah, let's say you were a nurse, like I was a nurse,
Yeah.
you don't get to say, well, I'm not going to work today because I just don't feel like it,
Yeah.
right? You go to
Not
work,
not a good
you
idea.
punch
Yeah.
the time clock or
Yeah.
whatever it is that they do these
Yeah.
days. We used to punch a time clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so it's what you do. And if first thing in the morning is better for you, great.
Hmm.
If midday is better for you, excellent. If the last thing in the evening, great.
Right.
Do what works for you. If
Yeah.
someone says to you, "Oh no, it has to be first thing in the morning," no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, mm-mm. It has to be what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. So you have do you have the same agent you've had for quite some time?
Well, I've had her for a while, but I've had more than one agent.
Okay.
My first agent decided to go back to as an editor.
Okay.
And then my second agent decided to go back to being a publisher. My third agent was decided to become a writer. And in those days,
Huh.
you could not be both.
Ah, I see.
And so, yeah, talk about, I mean, but there was an established period of time that I was with each one. And
Yeah.
then I was with Jonathan Clements with the Nashville agency. And then during the whole COVID thing, he just like, I've got three girls in college. And so he
Yeah.
took another job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but he continued to represent me. He said, I will continue to represent you until you know it's time to let me go. And
Okay.
probably 3 years ago, I was chatting with Blythe Daniel at the Blue Ridge Conference,
Hmm.
and I just kind of heard the Lord say, "This is your new agent."
Yeah.
And so I said, Blythe, I know you don't, represent a lot of fiction writers, but would you be interested in representing me? And she said, "Oh, Eva, that would be such a dream." And I said, "It might be a nightmare, but we'll call it a dream.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
call
For
it a
now, let's
dream?"
go with dream. Let's go with dreams fulfilled. Yeah, tree of life.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. All right. So you just keep moving ahead with
Mhm.
what's next, Lord? What's next?
Yeah, yeah. And listen, and I said this past weekend, and I'll say it again, because I don't think most new writers understand. It probably will not go the way you thought it was going to go,
Hmm.
but that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's okay.
definitely.
God knows exactly how it's supposed
Yeah,
to go. Life
exactly.
doesn't go the way you think it's supposed to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's been your experience, has it?
It
Me too.
has.
Yeah. How odd. How very odd.
I
Yes.
know, I know. I'm like
Uh,
one in a million over here. Like everybody else has had it, just exactly like they thought it
yeah.
would go.
Just like a
No,
storybook.
and
No.
this will not, it will not go the way you thought it will go. And just sometimes the books I think are going to do the best don't, and the books I think are going to do okay flourish. And
Hmm.
you know, um, even like I did about 15 books with Baker, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be with Baker the rest of my writing
Yeah.
life. And then they actually turned an idea down.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah.
So, it's like, oh, well, then we started shopping, and that's the way it was
Huh.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the people you meet along the way, when you have to take those left or right turns or whatever
Mhm.
turn it is, you're like, oh, how
Yeah.
serendipitous is this?
Yes. And now I know. And
Yeah.
now I know exactly why
Yeah.
you allowed that road to fork when
Yeah.
I thought it would just stay straight the rest of my
Yeah.
life.
Right.
You allowed it to fork and had a roadblock up
Yeah. Literally.
on
Yeah.
one side,
Yep.
and that forced me to the left instead of
Uh-huh.
going to the right or vice versa. Um, and then, praise God he did. I mean, just
Yeah.
he's never failed,
Yep.
ever.
Yeah. Do you have you had moments in your writing where just hit you just hit a wall, can't write, or obstacles? How do you overcome those things?
Um, Well, we have the moments where you go, I don't know what to do next here. I
Yeah.
have now just written myself into a corner,
Yeah.
and I thought I knew where it was going, but somehow I ended up over here. Your characters become so real, they take over. They truly
Right.
do.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have to be a writer to understand that, but they will do it. You have to
Yeah.
rein them in. Like that's not what I
Yes,
wanted
right.
to do, but no, no, this is what we're doing. Uh, so in those times, if I watch I love classic movies, and if I
Okay.
watch a really good classic movie, it tends to stir me.
Huh.
Or if I read a really good book, again, that
Uh,
helps. But or take a walk. I
yeah.
was telling Angela Hunt this past weekend, I'll take a long hot shower. It's always in the shower that the answer comes to me,
Right?
and now I'm dripping wet.
I
There's
know.
nothing I can do. So, but I'll do that. But then there are the times when life happens.
Yes.
Someone gets sick,
Yeah.
or I get sick, or something happens within the family,
Yeah.
and you just have to take care of it. Or for me, something happens within Word Weavers, and I just have to take care of that. And
Yeah.
I can't concentrate on this today because I have to do that. And one thing that was amazing for me was in 2019, and I was working on my book Dust. That was the title, Dust.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
My brother became terminally ill.
Hmm.
I literally dropped everything. I was packed for the Blue Ridge Conference. So
Hmm.
praise God I was packed because I don't think I could have thrown any clothes into a suitcase at that point
Right.
when I
Yeah.
got the call. Threw everything in the car, drove 5 hours up to Savannah, Georgia, where he was in the hospital. We only had 13 weeks before he passed away.
Hmm.
But I would try in the beginning to keep working, and also working on the North Georgia Christian Writers Conference, which we had at that time, which is no longer in existence. And I soon realized that this was a 24 hour a day, 7 day a
Yeah.
week um, responsibility that I had to my brother.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, I just finally just said, I can't write anymore. I was editing something. I can't edit anymore.
Yeah.
But the day that my co-director for the conference called me and said, Eva, let go.
Hmm.
We got it. We got it.
Yeah.
And I said, Mark, I have no other choice.
Right.
It's all day, every day now,
Yeah.
all day, every day. And you know what? It still worked out. The book got finished. But I had to quit. I just had to stop.
Yeah.
And you know, real life is more important than
Yes.
fiction.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
it was all okay. And fortunately, when you're working with, w- I have always been a stickler for having my books in on time.
Yeah.
You want this done by this day, you're going to have it 2 or 3 days early,
Yeah.
or even a week early or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm never late. But the one time I was late, we were having a family crisis, and I called the house. It was David C. Cook. So wonderful. I called them and I explained to them what was going on. And I said, I just need another week. And
Mm.
they said, Eva, take two.
Ah.
And I said, thank you. Well, I was doing a speaking event in the Washington, D.C. area for them
Okay.
that was coming up. They called me and said, we want to fly you up there a few days early. We got the hotel room for you, but we've booked it a few days early. We want you just to take some time to breathe.
Mm. Yeah.
I mean, how
That's
good is
beautiful.
that?
Yeah.
And you just have to,
Yeah.
because real life trumps fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you find after that, did you find that the things that you had to work through, spiritually and
Mm.
emotionally, did you find that that came out in your writing later?
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Um, because God doesn't waste anything.
Right.
When I was laying out the plot for Dust, I knew that one of the characters was going to die,
Hmm.
and not like early, but like later in life, because it
Yeah.
follows a married couple from the time they meet until they're married and they have children, and it's just kind of a saga of their
Yeah.
life. And I knew he would die and that
Mm.
she would be left as a widow. What I had not contemplated was that I was going to walk through the death journey with my
Yeah.
brother.
Right.
So when I got to that scene where Wesley dies, I actually did not write it. I circumvented it. And
Hmm.
then after I finished the book, I went back and wrote that scene because I just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so much of what happened with my brother, I wrote into that scene that, you
Yeah.
know, that just ripping of your heart when somebody you love so much
Yeah.
takes that last breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
quite like it. I know my first book, The Baby Catcher Gate, would not exist. It simply wouldn't exist except
Mm.
for a tragic death in my family that happened a number of years prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
young relative in a car accident, and it was so stunning and so,
Yeah.
just took my breath away for so
Yeah.
long. And but I do remember in those times I said, Lord Jesus, I trust you and I love you and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe in heaven, but you got to help a girl because I need to know more about it. I need to
Yeah.
have that settled in my heart in ways that I've not needed before. And he was so faithful
Mm-hmm.
to walk me through that
Mm-hmm.
valley of the shadow of death. But he took me through a heavenly journey on that.
Yeah.
He literally showed me stuff. And I had no intention of, I didn't even know I was going to write a book at that point. But when I started writing, oh, then
Yes.
so much of that stuff came up and out through fiction, not exactly
Yeah.
the way that he
Yeah.
showed it to me,
Yeah.
but I wove it into that story because
Mm-hmm.
I had to go through it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so,
And
mm,
and that's the thing. We experience life and then
yeah,
we write about it, whether we write fiction or
right.
nonfiction.
Exactly.
And it's not self-serving.
No,
It's because it's in there and it has to come out. It's like telling a bird not to sing,
yeah,
or an artist not to paint.
right.
It's just there and it has to come out, whether anyone ever reads those words or
Exactly.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's why we journal.
I know. But
Yeah.
no one should read my journals. Trust me, they are
No, no, no,
they're a
no.
hot mess, just like
Yeah,
my interior world at
it
times. Yeah.
is. It is. But I can't. I've got bins full of my journals
I do
from
too.
50 years now,
Yeah.
and they're not really for anybody to read. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I'll just throw them in a fire or something.
Right.
But I got to get these words out.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
it's like I just ugh. And even as a child, before I knew that I was a writer, I
Yeah.
remember holding a crayon and having my little coloring book and feeling like there was something inside of me that needed to come out of that crayon, but I
Mm,
didn't understand it yet.
interesting.
By the time I was 6, I understood it
Huh.
because I already understood the power of story. There was Dick and Jane and Puff and
Oh,
Spot
yes,
and
there
Mother and
was.
Sally
Yeah.
and Father and, and I realized that to me, they were real.
Yeah.
I thought they really were
They
out there
moved you.
somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
touched you.
Hmm.
Oh, Eva Marie, look at the time has flown.
It has flown by.
One last question before
Okay.
we wrap. I ask everyone this. If you were talking to someone who hasn't even started down this journey yet, what would be your best advice to a brand new writer?
Enjoy the journey.
Ah,
Don't rush it. Everything in God's timing. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Take every opportunity to learn as much as you can about the craft,
yeah.
to learn as much as you can about the people within the industry. You do that at writers' conferences,
Yeah.
etc. Writing groups, critique groups, etc. Get to know the industry and the people within the industry. My dear friend Leanne Jeffries, who was an Eileen Ford model, Eileen
Mm.
Ford, she was like the
Yeah,
creme de la
yeah.
creme. Leanne said to me that if she was not at a go see or she was not actually, at an assignment being
Right.
photographed, she would go into the top-notch department stores in New York City. She learned what was behind those counters, the fragrances, the fashion, the
Yeah.
designers, this, that, the makeup. She was reading fashion magazines, etc. And this is what she said: I made it my business to know my business.
Hmm.
Well, make it your business to know your business, but just enjoy the journey. If I could go
Yeah.
back and do one thing,
Hmm.
it would be to not panic that it wasn't going to happen because it
Yeah.
happened and I really didn't have that much to do with it, you know?
Yeah, but you kept putting one foot in front of the other and
Yeah.
one more
Mhm.
word on the page.
That's right. That's right. Mhm.
Oh, thank you, Eva Marie. I've
Thank
just really
you.
enjoyed this
This has
time.
been
Let me
fun.
reiterate, Miss Beth Bettencourt is coming out on May 12th.
Yeah.
You can get advanced
Yes.
pre-orders are
Mhm.
available. So is that anywhere or Amazon? What's the best place to do that?
Excuse me. Yes, anywhere. Amazon,
Okay.
christianbook.com, walmart.com,
Okay.
barnesandnoble.com. Tell your favorite librarian, your favorite brick and mortar store. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Beth Bettencourt. It's a delight to read. You're a delight to interview. I
Thank you
thank you
so much.
so much for your time. And listeners, I hope you picked up some real tips along the way today. And thanks so much for listening. As always, I love and appreciate you as well. Blessings and peace to you, my friends. Shalom, shalom.